everyone, and welcome back to While You Were Cleaning. Today I have some Dollar Tree DIYs to share with you all. So I know that this video is a little bit longer than my normal DIY videos, but I have 3 projects today to share with you, and they are all kind of in the same category. So I just wanted to share them in the same video rather than splitting them up into several different videos. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a DIY for the 3 different types of kitchen scales. So I put together a DIY for a hanging scale, a balancing scale, and then a countertop type scale. And I can't wait to share them with you. I really love the way that each of them turned out, and I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you do, please hit that like button, please comment and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started. For this first DIY, you'll need one of these bowls from the kitchen section. You'll also need 1 square container from this 3-pack of storage containers. The first thing you're going to do is cut off the handles from the square container. These come off pretty easily with just a pair of scissors. Next, I'm going to use some E6000 to glue these 2 containers together. So I added some E6000 to the bottom 1/2-inch edge of the bowl. And then I added my square container on top of that bowl, pressing it down over top of the glue. Then I used a small piece of cardboard to scrape off any excess glue that might have oozed out. I waited a couple hours for the E6000 to set a little bit before moving on to this next step of painting. I started off with this flat white Rust-Oleum primer. I did 2 coats of this primer, and the purpose of the primer is just to help my finish coat to stick to the plastic a little bit better. Next, I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum gloss color in the color Ocean Mist. I also added 2 coats of this color to my containers. Next, to make this scale, I'm going to be using one of these long wire baskets. I hope that these steps are easy enough to explain to you all. First off, you're going to take a pair of wire cutters and you're going to cut the top edge on one end of the basket. Then you're going to count in 3 wire spokes and cut that top edge again with your wire cutters. Do this on both sides. Next, you're going to count 4 spokes from then and cut the top wire edge again. Again, doing this on both sides. This top wire is a little bit hard to cut with the wire cutters. Next, you're going to count 3 spaces again, cut that top edge another time. Now you're just going to start cutting off any of the excess basket that you don't need. So we're going to cut the thinner edges on the one end, and you're going to be left with a piece that looks like this after you cut off all of the excess. So you'll have a middle section with 4 wires and 2 outside sections with 3 wires each. Next, on each of those outside edges that have the 3 wires, you're going to cut off the sides of the basket. Make sure you only do this on the 2 outside edges with the 3 wires. Don't do this on that middle section that has 4 wires. And you're just leaving that bottom portion of the basket. For this next step, you're going to cut the wires, just the 2 inner wires of this middle 4-piece section. Only cut them at the bottom, or technically the top part of the basket, because you're going to take these and you're going to bend them upwards. Hopefully, by seeing these steps, you'll be able to follow along with them just fine. Next, I'm going to cut out the extra wires on each of the ends. So I actually left these one section too long, so I cut off an additional section, and then here you can see I just cut out the center portion of that end part. So it's cutting off the extra section and then cutting out all the middle portions so you're left with 2 spokes. This piece is going to be used to support my plate at the top of my scale. So I'm going to use one of these square plates. This is a 7.5-inch plate, and I did pick it up from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to face this plate down, and then I'm going to put my wire piece on top of it, and I'm going to bend each of these wires so that they curve around the edge of the plate. You may or may not have to do this depending on which plate you choose to use at the top, but I wanted to make sure that I could glue these together later, so I wanted to bend them first before I painted this piece. And here you can see it's a little bit molded around the shape of the bottom of my plate, and it'll support it really well. So I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum metallic spray paint. I chose to use a silver color, and I just put 2 quick coats of spray paint on this metal piece. It didn't take very much to cover it at all. Here's the finished look of my plastic containers, and here's my metal piece that I'm going to glue to the top. So I added some hot glue to the bottom. I would suggest actually using some E6000 for this, but I wanted to make sure that I could put it all together and finish it for this video. So I added that just on the bottom edges, and then I went back and added a little bit more hot glue just to hold it in place. And then next, I'm going to add some glue to all of the higher ridges on this metal piece, all of these points, so that they can touch the plate and hold it in place. Then I set my square plate right on top. For the face of my scale, I'm going to be using the frame from one of these round Dollar Tree mirrors. I actually had an extra frame piece, but I wanted to make sure I showed you that it came from the mirror. And I'm going to use that same Rust-Oleum metallic spray paint in the color silver. This is the one that I used on that metal piece. And then I added 2 coats of spray paint to the round frame. Also, for my scale face, I'll be using this printable that I found online. I cut it outside the lines just a little bit, so it left some extra space for gluing it on. I will link this printable down below for you. It downloads as a PDF, and you just need to change the scale size to 78%, and that fits perfectly inside of this round frame. Next, I'm going to use one of the long hands from one of these clocks from the school section at Dollar Tree. So first you have to remove the short hand. So I used some scissors and some pliers to get all of the short hand off, so you're left with just the metal piece and the long hand. This does spin around. You're going to use some glue to add it to the center, and then you can leave it so that it can spin, or you can glue that long hand down in place on one of the numbers. And for the last step, we're going to glue this to the front of our scale. So you want to add some glue right at the 6 o'clock part at the bottom of this, and then add some glue along that top ridge of your plastic piece, and then you can glue this face right in place. And here that countertop scale is all finished. This cost me $6 to make, but I did have some extra clock faces and then also some extra square containers. I really love the way that it turned out. I love the color of it, and I can't wait to use it in my kitchen decor. For the next scale, you'll need one of these small round 7.5-inch clear plates, and you'll need one of these candlesticks. I'm going to glue these two together with some E6000. So I'm going to add the E6000 to the bottom edge of the candlestick, and then I'm going to glue that to the center of the bottom of the round plate. I used a piece of cardboard around the edge to remove any excess glue that might have oozed out. I'm also going to be using one of these plungers from Dollar Tree. You're going to remove that bottom plunger part so you're just left with the round dowel. And then add some E6000 to the bottom of that, and you're going to glue it inside of your candlestick. Make sure that it is pushed down there tightly in place so it stands straight up. I waited a couple hours for the E6000 to set in place, and then I spray painted the whole thing with this Rust-Oleum gray primer. This primer will really help the finish coat to stick in place. Because this is made of glass and an unfinished wood piece, you really want to use a primer. I also am going to be using one of these wooden rulers that comes in a 2-pack. You need to remove the sticker pieces from it, and then I also used the gray primer on this on both sides as well. For the finished coat, I'm going to use this satin Rust-Oleum spray paint in the color Canyon Black. I did 2 or 3 coats of spray paint on all of these pieces with the black color. Once the black spray paint has dried on the first half of the ruler, you'll want to flip it over and add a couple coats to the other side as well. You're also going to need to add a second hole in this ruler on the opposite end, so pick a drill bit that's about the same size as the existing hole and then drill a hole in the center of the other end, and then you can touch this up with some black spray paint. Next, you'll want to use a second ruler to find the center of your black ruler piece, which would be at 6 inches. Then you're going to use a small drill bit that matches up to whatever size screw you're going to use, and you're going to drill a hole all the way through this ruler piece. You're going to use the same drill bit to drill a hole 4 inches down from the top of your plunger handle. This hole that you are drilling is only going to go into the plunger handle a little bit, not all the way through. Then you're going to want a screw like this one that doesn't have the teeth grooves going all the way to the top. You need to have that flat portion at the top so that your scale can move from side to side. Then you want to use a screwdriver to screw through the ruler piece into the plunger handle. Next, I'm going to use 2 of these small pet bowls. They also have some metal bowls in the kitchen section at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spray these using this Rust-Oleum white primer. I did 2 coats of the primer. I did remove those stickers first, and I didn't worry about the bottom edge because you're not really going to see it. And then for the finish coat, I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum semi-gloss white spray paint, and I did 2 coats of this color as well. Once the white spray paint was dry, I used some black acrylic paint and a foam brush from Dollar Tree, and I just added a black rim to these bowls with the acrylic paint. I just wanted to add a little bit on to give them that enameled look. Next, I'm going to use some of this wired jute cord to hang my bowl from my scale. So first you need to make a circle that's going to fit right underneath the rim of your bowl, and you'll just need to twist the ends together, and you may have to use some hot glue to hold the jute cord down because it does come away from the wire a little bit. Then you're going to cut 3 14-inch pieces of the jute cord and twist this around the circle piece, and just do that evenly around the edge of the circle so that they are evenly spaced. And if you can't find this jute cord, you could also use some wire or even just some jute string. Use some hot glue under the rim of your bowl to hold this jute wire in place. I just added mine at the base of each of those wire pieces that I added. And then you're going to turn your bowl over, fold the wire over the rim of your bowl a little bit, and pull your wires straight upwards towards the center. And then next you're going to take one of those 3 wires and you're going to wrap it once around the other 2. Then you're going to fold the other 2 down. I twisted mine together a little bit, and you're going to finish wrapping that wire around and then glue it down so that it makes a loop. You'll want to repeat these same steps for your second bowl as well. And then I'm going to use some of these book rings. I picked these up at Dollar Tree a little while ago. They seem harder to find now, but you can also find them at Walmart. I'm going to open them up and add my bowls to both sides of my scale. And here that scale is all finished. This cost me $9 in Dollar Tree supplies. I do have some extra jute cord and book rings and an extra ruler left over, so it's a little under $9. One of my favorite things about this is that it does move, so you can actually balance items in it, and my kids have enjoyed playing with it. For my last scale project, you'll need 2 of these shower curtain rings. These come in white and in clear, and I'm going to be spray painting this with this Rust-Oleum Satin Canyon Black spray paint. I used some wire to hang these from my clothesline so I could just spray paint all sides of them at once without having to wait for one side to dry. And then I did add 2 coats of spray paint to both of these. Next, you're going to need the smaller burner cover from one of these packs from Dollar Tree. And I used that same scale face as I used in my first scale DIY, and this one I printed at 100% for the PDF, and I cut right around the black rim of it. And then I'm going to use some rubber cement on the back of the paper piece and on the burner cover so that it has glue on both edges, and then you're just going to press it down in place. You could also use some Mod Podge. For this, I just wouldn't suggest some other glues because they might make the paper wrinkle a little bit. I'm again going to use one of the long hands from one of these clocks from the school section. You can remove that short hand with some scissors and some pliers. Then you can add some glue to the center of your scale face. You can also add some glue to the long hand so you can keep it pointing at one of the numbers because it does spin around. Next, we're going to add these 2 spray painted curtain rings to the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock parts of this scale face. So you're going to add one to the 12 o'clock, just add some glue to the back, and then you're going to add a little bit of glue right underneath that front portion so it sticks right on the 12 o'clock line, and then do this again at the 6 o'clock portion, add some glue to the back to hold the one side in place, and then the flat end is going to be on the front, and you're going to glue that down right on the 6 o'clock line. For the bottom portion of the scale, I'm going to use one of these round black baskets. You're going to first remove the handle and then use some pliers to remove the rings from both sides. Next, I'm going to be using one of these black planter hooks. I left 15 chain links in each of the 3 sections. I know these may be a little bit harder to find now depending on where you live. I had one left over from another project, so I decided to use it. Dollar Tree may have something else with a hook on it that you could use instead, but I just hooked the 3 sections evenly around the edge of my round basket. And then for the last step, you're just going to hook this basket to the loop on the bottom of your scale face and then hang the other loop from a hook from the ceiling, and your scale is all finished. This scale cost me about $4 in Dollar Tree supplies, and I think it may be my favorite. Let me know down in the comments which of these scales was your favorite. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time. Bye!